Hello, you're on the channel Infidelity and Revenge. If you haven't subscribed yet, you can do it right now. Enjoy watching. Part 1. We met in my final year of university when I was out with friends. Nicole was celebrating her 21st birthday when I met her at a local club in Columbus. I literally bumped into Nicole as I walked past a table, knocking a drink over her lap. After a few awkward moments, I apologized and we talked while I helped her clean up the mess. Some call it love at first sight, but I think there was a unique chemistry between us that attracted us like a magnet. From that night on, we dated and never broke up. A year later we got married and started our life together. My name is Tom Marvin, and my friends call me Tommy. I have a degree in accounting and became a certified public accountant at a large accounting firm in Philadelphia, where Nicole and I settled near our family. After working and gaining experience at a large accounting firm, I started my own firm. Nicole, who has a degree in business administration, supported me for the first 2 years until she became pregnant with our wonderful daughter, Mary Ann. Nicole and I had a fabulous relationship. We were madly in love and spent all of our time together. When Mary Ann came into our lives, we extended our love to our wonderful daughter. For the next 10 years, we lived a typical family life, with me working hard to grow the business and Nicole taking care of the house and raising our daughter. Sexually, we were happy and made love at least 3 times a week. I say we loved each other, and that's exactly what it was, love. Our feelings for each other were deep and sensual. We never experimented or had hard sex because we respected each other and never wanted to do anything like that. Nicole liked getting oral stimulation and I liked giving it to her, but she wasn't a big fan of blowjobs and only did it on special occasions. Probably less than 10 times during our marriage. I never pressured her as I was content with our life and enjoyed our relationship. What I loved about Nicole was how attentive she was at all times. From the day we said our vows, she kissed or hugged me, held my hand whenever we were together. The closeness in our marriage was incredible and I enjoyed every second of our intimacy. Our friends always laughed at us and said it wouldn't last forever, but after 10 years of this affection, they finally realized we were a special couple. When Mary Ann was 10 years old, Nicole said she wanted to go back to work. Now that Mary Ann had a routine and came home from school at 3:30 p.m. every day, Nicole explained that she didn't want to stay home every day, but wanted to get back to the real world. After hours of discussion, we agreed and developed a plan that would ensure that Mary Ann would continue to get the attention that a 10-year-old girl needed. Nicole found a job as personal assistant to Edward Cooper, a lawyer who was 10 years older than her. The hours were good and Nicole enjoyed taking on serious responsibilities, which was good for self-confidence. She was no longer a housewife, but a businesswoman and mother. I could see how happy she was with her work and supported her. She could be home by 4 o'clock every day and was always there for Mary Ann. As time went on, our family grew stronger and stronger. We had a comfortable life, living in an upscale apartment complex with a country club membership. Because we had no financial problems, we were able to save enough for Mary Ann's college and retirement. We lived a blessed life because we had our health, money, and happiness to worry about. As you can imagine, sex life changes after 10 years of marriage, and in most marriages it slows down, and ours was no different. We went from making love 3 to 4 times a week to making love only 2 times a week, usually on Friday and Saturday nights. Yes, we became predictable, but we still loved each other and enjoyed our intimacy. Nicole never stopped being attentive and always showed me her love over the years. I enjoyed that attention and love, and the intimacy we shared was every bit as important to me as our lovemaking. When she kissed and hugged me for no reason, just loving me, it was overwhelming, and to me it was the best part of our marriage. I reciprocated her love, but Nicole always made sure I knew how much she loved me. Mary Ann joined the math club and stayed after school, coming home around 5 p.m. Around the same time Nicole started working late twice a week, which worked out well because Mary Ann was now coming home at the same time as me. We never wanted to leave her home alone at that age and made sure our schedules matched. Edward, Nicole's boss, was promoted to senior partner at his father-in-law's firm. When he got the promotion, Nicole had to work a few extra hours 2 nights a week. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, she was home by 7 p.m., and I made sure dinner was ready when she got home after a hard day's work. With the exception of those 2 nights a week, things remained the same in our marriage. My business was thriving and I was making a good income. The company had grown to 45 employees and I had my hands full growing the business. We became a well-known and respected accounting firm that became the target of acquisition or merger with some of the larger firms in the area. Mary Ann was 15 years old and beginning to think about college and her future. Nicole worked for Edward and was as attractive as the day we met. The years had taken their toll on Nicole as she maintained her slender figure, accentuated by her long sexy legs and round ass. She had a pretty face, but she never seemed anything but professional and conservative. We both led lifestyles that others might call boring. We spent most of our time together at home, going to the movies or to a family event with our daughter, and were always together as a family, never going out without each other. One day I received a call from Edward, her boss, informing me that Nicole would be honored at a banquet the following month and that Mary Ann and I were invited. I proudly told Mary Ann that Mom would be receiving an award for outstanding achievement in her profession. Since the award was a surprise, they invited us. Usually these meetings were for staff only and we were asked to keep it a secret until the award ceremony. Over the past 5 years since Nicole started working for Edward, she has done a great job that seemed to make her happier at home and boosted her self-esteem. I know she worked hard and was loved by the company, and now hearing about the award made Mary Ann and I proud. Nicole told us about an upcoming business meeting at the hotel and that she would have to work late and prepare a presentation for the entire company. She was looking forward to the presentation and had spent many hours on it in the weeks leading up to the event. At the time, she didn't know we were invited or about her award at all, and Mary Ann and I kept the secret. We could hardly wait for the event and Nicole's award. I took Mary Ann shopping for a new dress and bought a new suit to make sure Nicole would make her family proud at the award ceremony. Nicole was wearing a knee-length dress with a back cutout that looked professional but still emphasized her beautiful curves. She was an attractive and desirable woman at the tender age of 37. Before the limo picked her up, Mary Ann and I hugged and wished her luck in her presentation this evening. We had 2 hours to get ready and got dressed in time and went to be at the event about 30 minutes before Nicole's presentation. One of the hosts greeted us and seated us at a table in the center of the room with a great view of the stage. Mary Ann and I were treated special and everyone told us how much they loved Nicole and how excited they were to meet us. We felt so welcome and were happy to be there for our wife and mother. The lights in the auditorium dimmed as they began the introduction on stage. The spotlights came on as the first speaker introduced the firm's founder, the CEO, and then Edward, the senior partner. Edward gave a brief speech on the success of the firm and then introduced Nicole, who was to share some of the successes of the past year. Nicole took the stage looking as beautiful as ever, and I could see how proud Mary Ann was when she saw her mother begin her presentation. In a professional and practiced voice, Nicole talked about the company's accomplishments over the past year, their successes, and future projects they were working on. She spoke for about 10 minutes and when she finished, she handed the stage back to Edward, but before she left, Edwards took her hands and pulled her close to him as she spoke. Ladies and gentlemen, before Nicole leaves the stage, I would like to say a few words. Nicole and I have worked closely together for the past 5 years, and Nicole has become an integral part of our organization and my work life. I am convinced that without her, we would not have achieved the successes she has shared today. I am honored to honor Nicole tonight with our highest honor, the Chairman's Club Award. This award is given only to employees who go far beyond the call of duty and are recognized for their dedication to the company. She received a large plaque and a $10,000 award envelope. With tears in her eyes, she accepted the check, hugged Edward, turned to the audience and thanked everyone. Mary Ann and I had tears in our eyes because we were both so proud of Nicole. All the people at the table hugged me and it was one of our happiest evenings. We were both seething with pride and couldn't stop smiling. The lights came on and it was time for a drink. I picked up my glass and told Mary and I'd be right back, heading towards one of the bars at the far end of the hall. The lines for drinks were long and I saw an empty bar near the stage and walked over to grab a double jack and a soft drink for Mary and, feeling happy and generous, I smiled and dropped $5 into the tip jar, took my drinks and turned to walk back to my table. That's when my world came crashing down. On the way back, something caught my eye, and I turned around to see what it was. Behind the curtains, shielded from view, a couple was hugging and kissing. I thought it was strange and inappropriate at such an event, but suddenly I recognized the dress. It was the same dress Nicole was wearing. I turned around once more and froze in place. The couple I was looking at were engrossed in a heartfelt kiss. The woman wrapped her arms around the man's neck and the man's hand was freely caressing her buttocks. The way they embraced made me realize that this was not the first time they had shared such intimacy. The couple obviously felt safe behind the curtain and allowed themselves intimate feelings. Watching what was happening, I felt as if I was having an out-of-body experience. I froze with two glasses in my hands and my mouth open and watched these two until they finally separated and confirmed to me that it was indeed the love of my life who was very romantically kissing her boss Edward. At this point I dropped one of the drinks, which caught the attention of the lovers. When she saw the man staring intently at them, I saw a shocked expression on her face. At that moment, I felt myself return to my body and my senses return to me. I was at a loss for words, feeling my stomach flop to the floor and my heart was suddenly pierced by a deep pain. Not knowing what to do, I just turned around and walked back to my table with the remaining drink in my hand. At the same time, Nicole ran after me and managed to catch up with me before I even got to our table. "Honey, I just found out you and Mary and are here for the award ceremony. Thank you for coming, honey. What you just saw wasn't what it looked like, honey. We can talk later, okay?" I just nodded and headed towards our table. Nicole came over, and everyone congratulated her. Mary Ann gave her a big hug and kiss and was very happy for her mom. I was shocked and just sat quietly with a sad expression on my face, not saying a word. Nicole said she had a few more things to do and would join us again soon. Mary Ann noticed the change in my attitude and tried to ask me what was wrong. I just shook my head and didn't say anything else for the rest of the evening. It was clear that I was out of sorts and not at all happy to be around everyone around me. I know what I saw, and it was much more than a friendly kiss. In fact, Nicole and I haven't kissed like that in years. In retrospect, it had been over 5 years since we had kissed so passionately. My brain started working when I thought about those years and how things had changed. I knew there was going to be trouble, but at that moment I wasn't exactly sure what it was. We drove home while Mary Ann and Nicole talked about the celebration and how proud Mary Ann was of her mom. Shocked by what I saw, I said nothing and just drove home, absorbed in my own thoughts. Both girls noticed my silence and tried to get me to talk, but I remained stubbornly silent. Nicole knew it was wrong and she tried to make up for it by being sweet and especially affectionate, but I didn't want to hear about it. I tried to hide my feelings from Mary Ann, but being a smart girl, she knew something was bothering me and was smart enough to leave me to myself. Before Mary Ann went to bed, she whispered in my ear, "Daddy, if you ever want to talk, I'm here for you, okay?" Mary Ann hugged me and kissed me before she went to bed. I went straight to bed without saying a word, and a few minutes later I heard Nicole come into the room. "Tommy, are you okay, baby?" After a full minute of silence she asked. "Honey, do you want to talk to me?" I could tell from her voice that she was nervous. When she climbed into bed and tried to hug me, I turned my back to her. "Look, I know what it looked like, and I'm so sorry. I don't know what to say, but it wasn't what it looked like. Please talk to me." Without saying a word, I lay there and remained silent as anger began to crowd out the state of shock I was in. I didn't say another word because I had nothing to say to this woman and I knew that anything I said would be hurtful and solve nothing. She tried to hug me, but I ignored her and had the worst dream of my life. The next morning was Saturday morning, and I knew it was going to be a long day when I opened my eyes and sunlight poured in through the window. I lay there remembering the scene I had witnessed and trying to make sense of the situation. I got out of bed, went to the bathroom, washed my face and brushed my teeth. When I got back to the bedroom, Nicole was sitting on the bed watching me and trying to act normal. "Good morning, sweetie, did you sleep well?" she asked, as if nothing had happened. I ignored her question, put on jeans and a t-shirt, and looked at her before leaving the bedroom. I turned to her with a hateful expression in my eyes, speaking for the first time since the banquet. "How long?" When she didn't answer and just looked at her hands, I left her and went to get some breakfast and do some thinking. I wasn't myself. I know things are going to change between us, and I can't wait to hear what she's going to tell me about her affair. She knows she has to tell me the truth because she knows that if she lies, I will find out. Nicole and I were very close, and she never gave me any reason to believe that she wanted another man. I haven't noticed any change in our closeness and she still hugs and kisses me all the time, so how can she act like that when she's having an affair? I mean, if she is with him, how can she show me all this love? Can the woman I love really be having an affair with Edward? Nicole's thoughts after kissing.
Oh my God, this is awful, and I can't believe this happened. Edward knows he shouldn't show affection outside of his office, but tonight he just had to kiss me. Yes, I enjoy his kisses and hugs, and it was an exciting evening, so I can understand his enthusiasm, but he knows my rules about showing affection in public and how dangerous it is. Now I have a big problem. How do I explain to Tommy what he saw? He's not stupid, and I know it won't be easy. I remember the first time Edward and I had this affair. It was a year after I became his assistant and he was having problems with his wife. He has 6 young children, including twins, which made his wife very busy and overworked. They were having a difficult time and he started telling me about his problems. We became closer and I remember helping him through this difficult time, but not without consequences. Edward was a strong and kind man and I admired him and wanted to make him happy during this difficult time. Several times I hugged him and told him that everything was going to be okay and that he just needed to hang in there and love his wife. One day as I was hugging him, we felt an electric current go through us and we kissed, which led to sexual intercourse on the big couch in his office. Today I know I was selfish and caught in his web. The respect I enjoyed as Edward's personal assistant hit me. I felt I was more important than anyone else in the office, and Edward was always generous with praise and compliments in the workplace. Edward was to become CEO in the next few years, and being close to him gave me a false sense of self-worth. I felt brave to assuage his feelings when I saw him agitated again that fateful evening. Edward had just gotten off the phone with his wife after a heated argument, and when I saw how upset he was, I hugged him and told him everything would be okay. We hugged and then he thanked me and kissed me on the lips. We looked into each other's eyes and the kiss turned into a 2-hour sex scene in his office. I was mesmerized by his strength and opened myself completely to him. I had always felt the need to show my affection in the form of hugs and kisses, and this led to our intimacy and togetherness. When it was over, I felt terribly guilty and wanted to tell Tommy about it, but I knew it would mean the end of our marriage. When I got home, I was sure Tommy knew what I had done, but as always, Tommy and Mary and just hugged and kissed me and greeted me with the love they always showed when I came home. My heart broke and I felt nauseous with guilt. In that moment I realized I had to keep silent and never mention it again. After all, that evening was a once-in-a-lifetime event that would never happen again. We talked to Edward the next day, and we both knew that it would never happen again and that it was just a one-time thing we needed to get over. Over the next few months we worked late into the night, and within a few weeks I was back in Edward's tender arms. I had no reason to cheat on Tommy because I loved him with all my heart and would never want to hurt him or destroy our marriage, but being with Edward was something else. He was a big, strong man in whose arms I felt safe. Edward was not a handsome man and could not compete with my wonderful husband. Edward was overweight, balding, and not at all like a ladies' man. Tommy knew him well and was confident that Edward was not a threat. Tommy, of course, trusted me completely, so he didn't mind my working with Edward in the evenings. Edward was a large man, in every sense, over 6 feet tall, with big, strong arms. I had never seen a man so big, and after the first time we did it, I knew I was going to lust after him for the next week. He also did sexual things to me that I had never felt before, and I realized I wanted it more and more. In the beginning there was no love or feelings, just sex. But over the years we grew closer and felt a deep affection for each other. As a result, our affair helped Edward save his marriage. For some reason, our 2 evenings a week spent together helped Edward better manage his home life. Because I felt that I was helping Edward while not putting Tommy at a disadvantage and making everyone happy, I was able to justify myself and absolve myself of any guilt. My personal life was great, my boss was happy, and I had a great position and loved my job. When he was promoted, I started working overtime 2 evenings a week. This was time that Edward and I spent enjoying an afternoon in the privacy of his corner office, which was in a safe location. It was safe and there was no way we could be caught. After we both realized that this relationship would last, we agreed to limit our relationship to those 2 evenings and not do anything beyond those few hours a week. For 3 years we were together twice a week and enjoyed each other both sexually and emotionally. Eventually, we became more than lovers and the affair turned into more than just sex. There was a large leather couch in his office where we spent time together. Yes, sex with Edward was good and different from sex with Tom, and he did things with me that I had never done before. He had a way of making me do even things I had never allowed before. He managed to get me so turned on that I just wanted to pleasure him and give him things that I had never allowed Tom to do. Sex with Tom was the most amazing and tender, while sex with Edward was harder. I had the best of both worlds and I never wanted it to end. It was like I was living a separate life with my boss and it had no effect on my personal life. Tom and Mary and never lacked for my love or attention. Because I need a sense of intimacy with any man I have sex with, I found that in private I gave Edward the same intimacy and attention that I gave Tom. I realized that some men liked that level of appreciation and attention, and that it made women even more desirable. On those special evenings, I became Edward's work wife, and we both appreciated what we had, even though we knew it would never go beyond our 2 meetings a week. Neither of us wanted to hurt our spouses, and so our romance grew into a close friendship. Any guilt I had early on disappeared, and the only feeling I had was a sense of fulfillment. I felt that I deserved the life I was living. At work we were always professional and no one had a clue what we were doing. Edward always talked about his children, and pictures of his family were hung all over his office. Everyone thought Edward was a great father and family man. They thought the same about me and would be shocked at the sexual relationship between us. Every second of every day, except for those few hours a week, I was a faithful wife, in my usual family mode, to Tommy and Mary Ann. I thought about Tommy, always showed him my love and cared for him more than I can explain. I loved him and our family and made sure they were not hurt by my actions. I foolishly believed that the few hours a week I spent with Edward meant nothing to our families. It was just time spent together that didn't affect our marriage in any way, like dinner with a friend. Now my relationship with Edward has been exposed and will surely hurt my marriage, and I realized that my thinking was wrong. This morning Tommy looked at me deadpan and asked, "How long?" I knew I was in trouble. Tommy was smart and not an idiot, he knew something was going on. What should I say to him? Should I tell him the truth? I can't lose him, and I can't live with him by lying. I don't know what to do. Sobbing into my pillow for the last hour gave me no answers, and I knew I had to tell him the truth and ask him to understand. I know he loves me and he has to forgive me.
Later that day, Tom comes back. I looked at the clock and realized that Mary Ann had to be at school for math class by 1 p.m., and I knew it was time to face the truth. I drove home and found Nicole sitting on the patio with a cup of coffee looking out over the lake. Without saying a word, I poured myself a cup, sat down next to her and asked her the question again. How long? After a few minutes of silence, I noticed that tears were streaming down Nicole's face. What I heard next sent shivers down my spine and a pain in my stomach that almost made me want to vomit. Nicole said in a quiet voice full of tears. 3 years. Evenings when you worked late? And again she said, almost in a whisper, yes. I sat in silence again for a few minutes, and then I spoke. If I understand correctly, those 2 days each week when you worked late for the last 3 years were the only times you had sex with Edward? Yeah, we've never done this anywhere else, and I have so much to explain when you give me a chance. So. You just told me you've been banging your boss 2 nights a week for the last 3 years. You don't have to be an accountant to know basic arithmetic. You fucked him over 300 times, and I know you never do it just once, so I'm assuming you've done it at least twice in one evening. Bitch. Nicole, you fucked this guy over 500 times behind my back. Nicole, do you know any man who could live knowing that? Tears dripped from her eyes onto her lap as I continued. You two must have had so much fun laughing at me, your ignorant cuckold. I can only imagine what you said about me, or how he mocked me by fucking my wife behind my back. Thank you so much, Nicole. I never thought you'd do something like this to me. I've never been so humiliated and intentionally hurt by anyone in my life. I always believed you loved me, you convinced me I was your man. I loved you with all my heart. I would have died for you, but, Nicole, you ruined our marriage and broke my heart. Tommy, it wasn't like that. It was. I interrupted her and told her to shut the hell up. I got up and left the porch and she sat there crying and begging me to stay. Outwardly I kept my cool, but inwardly I exploded and headed away to get my emotions under control. The feeling of betrayal was new to me, and I needed time to process my feelings, to realize what she had said and what I was about to do. To be continued. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to rate the video and leave your comment.